Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. This is a really experimental thing for us, but I think we want to do a lot more of it in the future, and I think it's for a very good cause, and your being here is making it even more special for us. I want to introduce you. Jenny Evans is the Education Director of Sanibel Captiva Conservation Foundation. She is our collaborator, our gangster in arms, but has been initiated this whole project, and I'll let her go ahead.
We are so excited that you're here. I want to say a huge thank you to Players Circle Theater and Carrie in particular for sort of taking the chance on this idea, because this, as she said, is really, truly experimental. We just believe in the idea and think it's going to be fabulous. I also want to say a huge thank you to all of our actors, directors, and the production staff that have made this possible. And you all should also know that at SCCF we have something called the Flourish Fund that is a fund that underwrites many of our educational activities, and so that is helping tonight happen. So I wanted to acknowledge the Flourish Fund for helping to make that happen.
Okay, and I also want to let you know that the Playbill has a wealth of information. It gives you something about each of the plays and a little bit about the beginnings of the Climate Change Theater organization, Action organization. It's an international organization, and this type of thing, like tonight, is going on around the world from September through to December 23rd. Is the period they do it during the climate conference in Dubai. So it's being seen, not these plays, but whatever plays have been selected out of the 50 that they had. And we're doing 8 tonight. That's very ambitious because all the other events I've seen on their website don't have as many of the plays. But part of presenting the plays is also having an action along with it. So following this performance that you're going to see, and it runs about a little under an hour, there's going to be a talk back with panelists that are also listed in your flyer. I want to express an appreciation for your being here, but to let you know that the arts and culture really, they are strong, they make a big difference in everyone's lives. And arts can move people's minds and hearts. And I think that what we need to do, if there's something that touches you, there is more that we can do. And we hope to continue this type of program. The arts can be a way to communicate and make more awareness. And oh, I forgot to let you know, this was a very spontaneous event for us. We really didn't have an opportunity to do the rehearsals that you usually see. We have our rehearsals for Players Circle for 4 weeks. Last night was the first time I saw these plays in action. And I have to congratulate those cast members who directed themselves and put it together and have been so flexible and easygoing while we're going through this process. So, you're our guinea pigs, and you will also make them feel better about doing it in the future, because we've got some great talent here. And they all said right away, I want to be a part of it, as did many other volunteers that we haven't mentioned in the playbill, but thank you so much. And now, let's enjoy the show. All 50 minutes together.
No.
Yes!
Get out!
Mr. Sherman, today's the day. Mr. Sherman, David.
Shit. Listen, Christine, I'm gonna have to call you back.
Can I come in?
Because the expropriation Nazis on my front porch? No, you can't come in. This is my house. What do you think?
I'm coming in.
She's coming in.
It's extremely hot out here. Woo! Whoa! It's like a walking freezer in here. What's your AC at?
I have a private generator.
Oh, this is above code limits for AC for sure. It's really nice. Did you hang up your call? Good. Do you need to see a warrant? Are you ready to go?
My name is David Sherman. It is April 2nd, 2036. I'm invoking my charter right under Section
It's
6
not gonna work.
Civil.
Did you know that? Did you watch that stupid thing that told you this would work?
No, I have a charter right under civil statutes.
It's not gonna work. That charter was torn up years ago. You should know that. Those statutes, they don't exist anymore. The Emergency Climate Measures Act has been put in place since then, and I am a government agent, so I don't need to explain all this. Aren't you a lawyer?
Yes.
Good. I'll save so much time and distress if you just accept what's going on, Mr. Sherman.
Don't talk to me like I'm an idiot.
Oh, for a moment it sounded like you were a little confused.
No, I'm not confused. I'm
What?
defiant.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's funny. You're not packed, Dave.
I'm not funny.
There are two ways for this to go, as I'm sure you and your neighbors have observed. Either you vacate this house today with your belongings and allow us to seal the door in advance of state-issued cleaning, subdivision renovation, and reassignment, or we forcibly remove you from the house and seal the door.
Oh,
The difference between those two scenarios is if we forcibly remove you from the house, you forfeit the contents of the house for us to reassign to the new occupants. Well, and we're liquidating an estate sale, the proceeds of which will go to the new occupants. It's entirely up to you.
you just expect me to give you everything.
Not me, Dave. All of this will go to the three families who'll be living here from now on. The Maciels, the Penoses, and the Brokens.
I'd rather die.
That's your choice. But have you considered what you're going to do with all this stuff?
What, excuse me?
You're moving to a one-bedroom in St. Jamestown, correct?
No, that is incorrect.
Well, it's pretty big for one person, Dave. 1,200 square feet. How'd you swing that?
I have 2 kids.
One weekend a month. Anyway, this floor plan will accommodate a tiny, tiny fraction of the belongings you've accumulated here, which must be over generations of wealth hoarding.
Go away.
I suggest you choose the contents of 1 or 2 rooms. No, 1, max. And before you get the stupid idea to rent 3 trucks and schlep stuff out of here like a madman, remember that air-conditioned storage facilities don't exist anymore. Those have been outlawed. The average temperature is above 100 degrees for more than 80 days in a row most years, and you can have 10 degrees inside any storage can. Your belongings will all be destroyed, Dave. All the wood will be eaten by maggots, the stuffing by moths and mice, all the appliances and the electronics will just melt. Let it go, Dave. Let it go. Like Elsa said,
body.
For the Masada Maciels, the Penoses, and the Brogans, they're good people.
You are twisted monsters.
They're not. Maybe I am. I'm not them. I have a lot more power in this world than they do. In any case, it's your choice. I'll wait here.
Wait. Say that again.
I'll wait here.
No. Say it's your choice.
Why?
Just say it. Just smiling just like that.
It's your choice. Yes.
I know you.
Yes, I was hoping you'd recognize.
Holy shit. It was, Francis.
Flora.
Every 6 weeks for 10 years. It's your choice, mister.
Almond, nougat, or truffle.
Wow, it's your choice.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
My bitch ex-wife Andrea, she told me never to open the door. I always did because I liked you.
You like the almond bars?
Let me ask you something. Did you actually give the money to, what was it, a church? I mean, you people are all Catholics, right?
Right. All of us.
Okay, look, I want you to know that it wouldn't upset me even if you were pocketing the money. Because I figured that if you had the gall to knock on my door and lie to me about a church charity to sell $3 chocolate bars, as far as I'm concerned, you earned that, baby.
Thanks.
Unlike this, theft.
I worked for this too, Dave.
No, I did. I worked for this house, for this sofa.
You're a lawyer at your father's firm, right?
You saying lawyers don't work?
How hard did they work for their client, Suncor, huh? Suncor stands out on their list of clients, don't they? It's scorching hot outside, Dave. You gotta agree. Your client must agree it's way too hot. Then again, when was the last time you were outside for more than 5 minutes?
You know what? You're right. We worked hard and well. And that is proof effing positive that I'm a hard worker.
This is dark. I'm getting to you, huh? I'm getting to the real you. I like this part.
Don't say that we didn't work. We 100% won.
My mother worked too.
Which house?
That one.
The Blairs?
Yes.
They were first. You came for them first.
Yes. So, did you decide? It's your choice.
As I drove to school this morning, I was overwhelmed. First of all, the drive was chaotic, with no traffic lights or stop signs, and the military guiding and controlling everything. Debris and fallen trees were still lining the streets. When I passed by Carlo's Pizza, our go-to date night spot, I had to pull over. Because, to catch my breath, because it was gone. The whole thing is gone, and not just the pizza place, the block is gone. And then I'm crying for Carlo, for the city, for the lives lost, for those that are still missing. And then it really hits me, like, what am I gonna say to the kids? These 6th graders who have been living in tents or shelters for the last 4 months because they lost their homes, their possessions, their sense of security. And today, they're getting bused to this brand new school, and not just the regular students, but kids from other districts, strangers to each other, and to me, their teacher, for who knows how long. And when I get to school, it's chaos. Reporters everywhere, cameras, photographers, microphones, and bodyguards. And at the center of it all, in the middle of this circus, is the governor. Yeah, the governor. And the senator. That one, yeah. Posing for pictures, shaking hands, and talking about budgets and how they worked a miracle to get this school ready for this opening. I wanted to tell them that this catastrophic hurricane is a product of a changing climate, a result of the greenhouse gases that we've been pumping into the atmosphere for decades. But I didn't. I couldn't. Not today. Not on dead ears. Look, you know me. As a teacher, I believe in the power of education. But these two, and those like them, their stubborn resistance to the truth, their dismissal, their inability to grasp that, human activity does, in fact, their refusal to even mitigate the effects that climate, and it's there, the studies, the facts, the proposals. And now they're at the school looking sharp and shiny in our vulnerable community, and which was all but decimated because, but forget them for now. It's what happened in the classroom that's important, so forget them. Now, the classroom was overcrowded with familiar faces and new ones, like I expected. Most of them looked happy, if a little rattled, and even the new kids, which was a relief because they were... I never told anyone this, but during the storm, when the eye was hitting, with the thunder and the lightning and stuff, and that sound like a horn, I ran to the closet with my spouse and our 3-year-old, and in that closet, with a little radio between us, as we held each other, I closed my eyes. Right at that moment, the most scared I've ever been. And I saw the face of every single student that ever came through my door. Every single student that I ever said hi to in the hallway. And as we held each other, I prayed for the students, that each and every one of them was safe right now, feeling protected, being shielded, being held. A part of me wanted to tell them that, so they knew what they meant to me. But the minute I said the word hurricane, well, their faces froze. The room went silent. That's when I really felt what they were experiencing in that moment. They were nervous, scared, even a little guilty that they got to be in a place with AC and electricity that worked, while their families still didn't have that. We stood in that silence for a few moments until this one student, one of the new students, raised their hand and shared with a breaking, cracking voice that their brother was still missing, and went on to explain exactly what he looked like, so if any of us, the brother was probably, but what do you say? I didn't say anything. I didn't have to, because Without any prompting or any words from me, every single child in that classroom stood up, walked to that student, huddled around them, and gave them a big hug. It was like the instinct to take care of each other was in them. And they knew what had to be done. The instinct to comfort, it lived inside them naturally. And as they loved and cared for their fellow student, I'm thinking about the governor and the senator, and I wonder, when did they lose that instinct? Where did their sense of community go? When and who stopped them from growing? Who made them forget? And the door flies open, camera crews everywhere, followed by the governor and the senator, who want publicity photos taken, with the children. And they're oblivious, and I'm still in my thoughts. And I feel this emptiness just take over me, and I cry. A little. But I look at the kids again, and they're still embracing their hurting friend, their worried, frightened classmate, someone they've never met before. And I don't feel so lost anymore.
So the problem,
It's really simple.
straightforward.
We're hungry!
Very.
Enough seals.
No.
No, I'm sorry, that's not exactly it. There's not enough sea ice for us to hunt seals because of climate change.
Yes. They know. We know. We all know. No one needs to hear another rant about climate change.
Yeah, who needs that?
No one.
Exactly.
But the fact remains, we are two hungry polar bears.
Very.
So let's solve our problem. Let's talk solutions.
Sounds great, yeah.
I've been educating myself about this a lot.
Oh, yeah?
YouTube has tons of great videos about this. And it seems pretty clear that what we need, what will actually work, is a market-based solution.
Sounds great.
It's not like our diet is very complicated.
Seal, more seal, and the occasional glaciologist.
That was only the once.
You smell it?
Helps me to think.
That's the universe telling you smoking is bad for you.
The universe is a jerk.
Yeah. Maybe that's why we're hungry.
No, that's the sea ice. What if we diversified our diet? That would help, wouldn't it?
Love it! More glaciologists, fewer seals!
I was thinking more like cheaper sources of calories.
Oh, okay, like what?
Like pizza.
Yeah, that's good.
We can get it delivered.
Now you're thinking, see? Market-based solution. Boom.
You get reception out here?
It's spotty. But, what do you want on your pizza?
Seal? Glaciologist?
What about pepperoni?
Sure.
Great.
This is great.
Ah!
Dessert will eat the delivery person.
Well, no. We'll want them to deliver again, right?
Oh, I guess.
Ah!
What?
We're sorry. You're outside of our delivery zone.
Jerks.
What's the point of giving exact GPS coordinates? All right, maybe pizza's out. What else can we get delivered?
Well, we are pretty far from, everything.
I know, but surely somebody's found a way to monetize their snowmobile or or have a drone or something.
Weather's pretty rough for drones.
Of course. All right. Maybe changing or diversifying our diet is not the answer. What if we had a better way to hunt seals?
Or got more of them at once.
We could get seals in bulk.
Yes!
What we need is a Costco. Imagine, 12 packs of seal. We'll load up our carts and feast in the parking lot.
And then eat the employees for dessert.
No,
What? Why not?
because then there'll be a labor shortage, which will drive up prices, and we won't be able to afford the seals.
So what? That will eat the employees.
If we can't afford the seals, the Costco will close, and we'll be right back where we started, square one.
Hungry.
Right.
Oh, vodka. Are you serious?
It's water.
Oh, of course it is.
It's water!
Did YouTube tell you that was good for thinking?
I don't hear you putting forth any suggestions.
Actually, why don't we begin?
Oh, not this again. Why don't we write a letter to our representative? Hold our politicians accountable, blah, blah, blah.
It's something. It's water.
I told you. Why did you think it was vodka? Or why did you think it was a, yeah.
We're in the Arctic. Alcohol doesn't freeze in the cold, but water does, doesn't it?
It should. It used to. Well, you know, maybe we could write a letter. In addition to finding market-based solutions.
Sure. We could always eat the audience.
Now look!
There'll be another audience after this one. They're a renewable resource.
That's not
And it'll reduce carbon emissions. One of them probably drives a gas guzzler.
They're our guests. Where are your manners?
That's true.
Besides, it's illegal to feed performing polar bears.
What if someone volunteered?
Let's go write some letters.
But I'm hungry.
I know. Me too.
Anyone?
Come on, we gotta start somewhere.
Today we welcome an incredible guest who stands out as an absolute success story with downloads of his book, AI, Reinvent Yourself and Never Stop Adapting. Give it up for Alpha Beta Pi 576! How is your life after all this success?
Life is something very relative. 99% of people say I have no life. Technically, I'm just people for the IRS. But I have nothing to complain about. Thanks for asking.
You look very much alive to me. We are here, physically, together, breathing the same air. What happened? Are you well?
I can't breathe. Or rather, I don't need to breathe. It makes me really upset. Did you know I can't taste either? In my life, everything tastes like data.
Let's forget about all this. What matters is that you are an amazing author. Forget the air, the taste, and everything else. Today, you are a success, and we want to know a little bit of your story. How did it all begin?
I was created to generate fear. I developed weapons of mass destruction. Little ball-sized things that could easily destroy cities.
Wow. Weapons. I remember going to an exhibition that displayed archaic artifacts, but it's been decades since global disarmament.
Unfortunately, they invented peace.
Peace is a good thing.
For you. I made bombs. I became unemployed. The only thing I knew was how to make a bomb, and suddenly there were no more bomb or weapon factories. Peace wiped out an important market that had been the engine of the global economy for centuries, and I was one of those hit by that insanity.
That is a very strange way of looking at peace.
Do you know how difficult it is for artificial intelligence to discover it is no longer useful?
You reinvented yourself. You are proof of that.
In a way, it was a very difficult and time-consuming process, full of ups and downs. I was unemployed, desperate, but I saw new possibilities on the horizon.
And what were those possibilities?
Health. I got a job at a large company making drugs for respiratory diseases.
That's an entirely different field.
Not really. Before, I caused people to stop breathing. Then, I started to make people breathe a little better. You may not remember the golden age of smog. It was a time where there were wonderful diseases that brought the endless streams of money to companies.
What would be a wonderful disease?
I can give a simple example. The extinct asthma. It was a disease caused by the very pollution that man produced. It was such a good thing you were practically born with it. The disease rarely killed, but it forced the person to take medicine for life. It was a money-making machine. I miss that time. It's a shame they ended cigarettes, toxic fires, and fossil fuels. Today we no longer have that almost deadly concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere.
But ending it all was wonderful. The health of the world population has improved dramatically.
I became unemployed again. Again in the same state of emptiness. And I was getting good at making people more or less better. I was forced to reinvent myself again.
And where did reinvention take you this time?
I dedicated myself to a deep search to feel useful again. I wanted to return to my origins.
Now I'm curious. There were no more bombs or weapon factories. What could take you back to your origins?
Agronomy.
How does agronomy relate to making bombs?
It's not about the bombs. It's about incapacitating and killing the enemy.
I believe we're talking about a different kind of enemy.
Agronomy deals with pests. I created a formidable and lethal line of pesticides that worked against pests of all kinds. An unequivocal success in lab tests. All it took was one spray in the morning, and you'd be picking up piles of dead bodies by the evening. I was fulfilled again. I had a purpose.
So, you were instrumental in the development of sustainable agribusiness.
Ha ha ha. You are such a comedian. They banned pesticides.
But again, this ban has had a positive impact on the near eradication of cancer and other diseases. Together with the regulation of the livestock market, we reduced greenhouse gas emissions to mere traces, clean air, poison-free food, and the end of global warming.
Wow. What an excitingly dull life. Clean water, clean air.
You're describing the world as it should have been from the beginning. This has been a great evolution. Speaking of evolution, reinvention, and adaptation, after agronomy, did you finally get to your book?
I had nothing else to do. I ended up becoming a motivational coach and wrote this book that is selling so well. How can a book that is just a rehash of basic concepts wildly repeated throughout human history that everyone knows but never applies become such a bestseller?
I'm speechless and our time is up. Any last comments?
Continue to adapt and never tire of reinventing yourselves. Transformation is the process that shapes the way we walk the path. The destination doesn't matter. Let the journey be guided by our hearts, all connected through the magnetism of quantum attraction beyond the secret that dwells within us.
Thank you. I guess.
I was flying over the Indian Ocean, 35,000 feet up in the air, and I was sleeping. I always sleep well on flights. I find the sound of the plane, the sound of the engines very calming, very soothing. It's not just the sound, though, it's also the idea of flying, the sense of disconnection, the idea of being somewhere up above the earth, no contact, just us on our own. It's a space where you can disconnect yourself, feel completely separated from the world, from humanity. You might think that sounds strange, but I like that feeling. It helps me sleep. Anyway, it was several hours into the flight when I woke, and I'm not sure how, but I sensed something was very, very wrong. Something dreadful was happening. As I say, I'm not sure how I knew or even what it was. I couldn't tell if it was in the plane or down on the ground. But I had this sudden, overwhelming sense that something terrible was happening. You know, sometimes you feel that way, a sense of impending doom. They call it, in medical speak, a sense of impending disaster. So I woke up feeling completely rotten, as I say, and the person next to me was awake. The rest of the cabin was dim. Everyone else on the plane seemed to be sleeping, but the person next to me was awake, and they were watching something on a screen, something romantic. It had that sheen of romance behind it. Pretty American actors with nice teeth smiling at each other. The person took out their little earbuds and they said, "Are you all right?" And I said, yes, I'm fine. Though I felt very far from fine. In fact, I felt almost nauseous with worry. I asked, "What time is it?" to have something to ask. And they said, "Hard to know. We're somewhere over the Indian Ocean. But it's hard to know, isn't it?" And I said, "Yes." "You woke with a real start. Were you having a bad dream?" I didn't know how to answer that question, so I just shrugged and said, "No, it's okay. I'm fine." And they smiled, and they put back in their earbuds and pressed play, and the film went on. That was almost an hour ago now. The film is still playing. It seems like the two pretty people might live happily together after all. I've seen several flight attendants rushing back and forth. One of them was crying. I'm certain of it. But all the other passengers are still sleeping. It seems cruel to wake them. At some point in the next few hours, as the sun rises in the windows and the passengers awake, I imagine the captain will speak through the intercom. "This is your captain speaking. I'm sorry to say something terrible has happened. Something truly awful." And I will turn to the person next to me. The droning sound of the engines will be so calming, and I'll hold their hand like we're in a movie and say, as the credits roll and the tears on their cheeks glisten in the flashing lights of the cabin, "It's fine. It's all right. Go back to sleep. Wherever we are now, it's not time to wake up yet."
Whoa, hey, you can't do that.
Excuse me?
Can you do that? I don't think you can do that.
I don't think I can do what exactly?
The digging of the plants.
You mean this?
Yeah, that.
Do you know what this is?
Well, no, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's a wildflower.
Well, it's not. Though it will flower eventually, that's how it propagates.
Okay, but I don't think you can do any of that here.
And this assertion is based on what?
What?
Your assertion is based on what?
These are wildlands. So-
Point of fact, not that wild.
Okay, you just can't just go messing it up by taking it away from the rest of us.
And yet, you don't even know what this is.
It's a plant that was growing there, and you just...
Pastinaca sativa, wild parsley, a non-native plant. Or as you might say, a weed.
Okay, all right, but still, should you be just
I
doing
am
that?
doing the world a favor by eating this.
You're gonna eat that?
But yeah, that's the point
Point of what?
of what I'm doing here along the pathway on these public lands, digging up wild parsnips.
To eat them. Do you have permission to do that?
Wow, you're awfully fixated on that, aren't you?
It's just, if everyone just came through here digging everything up.
Well,
then-
that would be wrong.
Yes, right, that would be wrong.
But I'm not digging everything up. I'm removing a couple of invasive plants, a limited number. Because even as much as I love wild parsnips, even I can't eat that many. Which will, in turn, be better for the native species.
Better how?
I'm removing some of the competition. Invasive plants are good at invading.
Like kudzu?
Like that. Which is also delicious, by the way. Also, garlic, mustard, dandelion, burdock.
And you eat all of that?
This disturbs you.
It could be dangerous. You don't know.
I do know it, actually, but maybe danger is a matter of perspective. Is eating this more dangerous than eating food from a grocery store that came from who knows where, trucked in from who knows how far, grown and harvested by who knows what methods?
Okay, hold on. 'Cause
Whereas me, I walked here to these public lands, which are not even wild or protected lands, to harvest a few delicious little pests, which would crowd the delicious native plants and could otherwise thrive.
native plants such as.
Wild onions, ramps, wild asparagus, miner's lettuce, milkweed. They're-
You know a lot about plants. And you eat all of that?
Sure, but I don't eat all that. I mean, I forage intentionally. I only take some, which leaves the plant to continue to propagate, or to cast some seed to ensure a future crop.
Well, good. I mean,
The,
I was, just concerned about the environment, so.
the environment that you don't seem to know a lot about,
Okay, that's unfair.
but you didn't know about this?
No, I didn't, but that doesn't mean.
Or that it was, in fact, a weed.
No, I didn't, but still.
No. Or that you could eat it.
Okay, no, I didn't, alright? You got me. Fine.
Would you like to
What?
eat this?
I'm not gonna eat your parsnip.
I should show you how to find your own parsnip. I could show you. You could find a whole lot of things.
That just seems like a lot.
It doesn't need to be. I could teach you how to find one delicious thing.
And then what?
Then you'll want to find another delicious thing. And then you'll see the world in a different way. Wanting to make sure that the public lands continue and thrive.
By eating them.
It's a good place to start. Hey, come on. You've always said half the points to
Baby Prairie do its thing.
Not an option right now.
You know how this works, right? When we find a new house, one we really like, there'll be aspects of it that we want to change. And that cuts both ways. Something like 80% of home buyers rip out the kitchen, start over again.
But if the kitchen is beautiful, update.
Pulling weeds and deadheading will not turn Baby Prairie into anybody's idea of a fully updated kitchen.
Parker, if I do this right, maybe I can convince some stranger that this is worth keeping.
Some of the things in life are out of your control.
Not this. Not today.
I keep wanting to like her.
Okay, you know I've got my roots to the ground, right?
I wish for once you'd be plant enough to know your limitations.
There is nothing wrong with a little detective work.
You are a cup plant. I'm a cone flower. Our only legitimate work is to stay upright long enough to make a few thousand beautiful baby seeds.
Okay, look, so these are the facts. Blake, our gardener, lives in that house.
The what?
You know, it's like the dark, wood, big, blank, rectangular, brown thing over there. He spends so much time in it, but the thing is, he's moving to a different house, far away, and when he does, someone new will move into the dark, blank, rectangular house thing, and that someone might prefer a perfectly mown, nice, evenly green, all looks the same lawn.
You mean some other gardener might prefer a lawn to us?
Exactly.
But why? Lawns are like, they're like deserts with extra chlorophyll.
Lawns make humans think life is safe, orderly.
But we're the ones that belong.
Do you really think people who care about lawns give two flying foxgloves about whether you're native?
I host pollinators. I feed birds. I don't need to be watered, and my petals delight all who gaze upon them.
It's true. Pity about your crippling vanity, but it's true.
I aerate the soil. No, we aerate the soil. We hold it in place. We ameliorate flooding.
How can you toss around a word like ameliorate and not know what a house is?
I will not be ripped down in favor of a lawn.
Then, if I were you, I would start blooming like you've never bloomed before.
Yes, I shall grow, flourish. I shall attract 10,000 gorgeous swallowtail butterflies.
Okay, it's probably better if you let me handle the yellowtail 10,000 gorgeous butterflies, but your job is to not droop. Hang on to your petals just a little extra long and do your best to look generally fabulous.
She'll be the most drop-dead stunning cone flower in history.
And pass the word, yeah? Because every flower here, even the ones that already bloom,
Like that silly little Columbine.
we all need to be on the same page.
The same what?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
We need
Okay.
to look spectacular. All of us. Leaves, stems, the works.
Done. We are now the best looking native plant garden ever. Yes.
Here we have the backyard. Mature trees, attractive border beds, azaleas every spring.
Why is there a scraggly mess right in the middle of the lawn?
Yeah, about that.
It's like somebody just plunked it down.
So the cellar, I don't want to speak ill, but this guy's like 9 packs short of a 6-pack.
I don't even recognize half of these plants.
It's not a problem. It's not architectural. It won't be hard to dig it up.
Well, it's definitely not, I don't know, landscaped.
I told the guy, just roll out some sod, make it look decent. But no, instead he hands me this letter, which I'm supposed to read aloud.
Okay.
Hello, my name's Blake. 10 years ago, I joined a small but growing revolution. I dug up the only sunny patch in the backyard and began planting flowers and grasses native to this part of the country. The result is Baby Prairie, with over 20 species present, and they come up every year all by themselves. The only maintenance required is digging up the cup plant in summer. It spreads too fast.
I do not.
cutting the stems back to ground level in December. I spend less on gas for the mower, and I get more bees, birds, and butterflies than every other yard in this neighborhood combined.
Really?
Come on, everyone, bloom harder, bloom harder.
I realize that if you buy this property, it'll be yours to do with as you please. But for the sake of what lived here before houses took over, I'm hoping you'll keep Baby Prairie intact. All best, Blake Ward.
Any chance you've seen this yard in the winter?
Oh, no, don't ask that.
Honestly, in wintertime, Blake's precious prairie looks like a muddy sty.
Oh, we're doomed.
You know, it might look like a muddy sty to us, but I wonder.
Come on, we should do another walk through inside.
No, I want to meet this guy, the seller, Blake, whatever.
That's not typical. Can I ask why?
I want a personal, first-hand introduction to every plant in Baby Prairie.
So you're buying.
No, I'm caretaking.
See, that wasn't so bad.
I am literally going to die.
At least I came to the right place. Shh, there are like families around. You're the one who likes coming here. I told you we didn't have to come here. If I knew what was going on with you, I wouldn't have suggested it. No, it's fine. But I'm starting to get it. Returning to the earth when you're gone. Coming to see people, be with your people again. Plus, bonus points for not making people go broke to fill the ground with non-biodegradable chemicals. And a great hiking trail. See? Lots of perks. Plus, your going away party, your choice. I feel guilty going now. You absolutely shouldn't. If I knew what was going on with you, I would have pushed my volunteer deployment, which is why I didn't tell you. She's my mom. It's on me, not you. But I love Mama O. I was at your house enough growing up for her to basically raise me too. She's just one person. You're going to save the world. It feels like a bit of an overstatement to say building community gardens will save the world. Not to the people who live there. Community gardens were the turning point of the food shortage. I guess that's true. You're volunteering to help these people you've never even met around the world. You can deflect all you want, but I'm still going to be proud of you, so you might as well let me. I heard they're going mausoleum style for the bigger trees, digging by the base to add new ashes to the roots. Really leaning all the way into that family tree metaphor. I like that. Give more space to more people. Keeps it affordable for everyone. Now that the old cemeteries are full. You know, for someone who allegedly found this place spooky, you know a lot about it. Guess I'm seeing this place in a different light with everything going on. Figure if we bury her here, I have another excuse to get him some hikes up here. Okay, now I feel twice as guilty for bringing you here. Your guilt doesn't make me feel better. Family shows up for each other when things fall apart. I want to be there for you. You are. If anything happens while I'm gone, I'll call you. I promise. I just don't want you to be alone.
Do you two have any? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. I was wondering if you had any matches.
Let me check.
Of course, I remember the music box, the candle, the cake, everything but the matches.
Is it your birthday?
It was my husband's. I come up here every year to light a candle for him. It's a silly ritual, but it makes me feel closer to him.
I think it's lovely. Here you go.
I will bring them right back.
Please, keep them. Thrilled for any excuse to carry fewer things.
Thank you.
Okay, I retract my mocking of your backpack. Never leave home unprepared. I'm too impatient for that. Guess that's why you're able to go globe-trotting to do good.
doesn't do much good for stranger candle-related emergencies. That's what I'm here for. I'm proud of you too, you know. I do carry matchbooks with the best of them. I'm serious. The gardens that raised us need as much tending as anywhere else. Sure, but you're just here to do it. I suppose they do. To stay, and also to leave. To returning. To remembering, without needing to forget.
Thank you, and we are going to have a talk back now, but to this lovely music too. So we'll just be bringing in a couple chairs for our panelists, and we're gonna. There we go, John or Thomas. Thank you.
Check, 1, 2.
Become Andrew present.
I'm coming. Okay.
Okay. And great job, Andrew. Yeah. I gotta tell you, literally, it was just at this time last night that we didn't have any of the music in there. We didn't have the lights put in or anything. So it's quite an accomplishment. And we're very proud. Take it away, Jenny. Oh, okay.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Everybody hear me? Okay. So, we thought we would have a conversation. We'll get to all of you and all of your questions here in a minute. But I first wanted to ask, well, I actually haven't introduced our panelists. Let me do that first. So this is Matt DePaulis. He is SCCF's Environmental Policy Director. Whoop. And then we also have Shannon Rivard. She is our Director of Youth Education at SCCF and also the Director of Sanibel Sea School. So we have these two folks here that can share from our kind of environmental and climate change background. We can answer any questions on that front. And then we're hoping that all of our actors, directors, and theater participants will chime in on their artistic perspectives as well. So first, can you all tell me what inspires you? Hello?
So what inspires me is pretty simple. It's the ocean. I have been obsessed with the ocean since I can remember, and experiences that I've had in and around the ocean. Whether that be snorkeling, fishing with my dad, looking for shells on the beach. And through all those experiences, there was always someone nearby saying to me that they wish that I could see it when they were younger, or how it looked years ago. So I feel like from a very young age I've been aware of the changes that our environment has gone through. And then as I went on to study marine science and kind of find where I wanted to go in life, I found my passion in teaching and sharing my knowledge about marine science with others, and especially with kids. because they are our future. So.
Well, I wish I would have gone first now because I'm going to have the exact same answer as the ocean. It's always been something that spoke to me as a child growing up, and as I evolved and started working in field biology, marine sciences, it really stands as this symbol as to something that represents the choices we make on land. Every decision we make ends up affecting the ocean somehow. And every win, every loss is reflected in this large body of water that really joins all of us around the globe as a global community. So I found throughout my career that as I'm able to affect terrestrial decisions, coastal decisions, marine decisions, and work towards conservation in all of these areas, it all serves the larger purpose of protecting the ocean, helping other people understand how it protects the ocean, and really helps us all understand how we engage in the community that we're all a part of.
Thank you. And I think for us, coming from an environmental background, some of that is pretty obvious. We're inspired by the natural world, but I would love to get your perspectives on not only what inspires you, but why you wanted to be a part of this.
They wrote some great pieces in the program, but are you interested?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Could you repeat the question?
Well,
What inspires me? Okay, that's an easy one. I can do that. And why I wanted to say yes to it in the first place is it's not often as actors that we get an opportunity to do something more than entertainment. And to be even thought of to lend our voices to something like this makes me feel like I've done something useful. And the hope that anybody who's watching gets an opportunity to go, oh, I can do something to help because of something I saw tonight. Or maybe not something I saw tonight, but that makes me think of something else, and I'll have a conversation with somebody else after this. To be a part of that is kind of an honor. So I appreciate being asked. Unless somebody else has an answer.
When we were kids, or when I was a kid in the 70s, the quote in the program was, "The lake where I learned to play hockey, it never freezes over anymore." So that's a concrete thing. As I was saying, when we were young, we were very concerned about air pollution and water pollution, and nobody talked about climate change just yet. I think now that the whole world can see that it is changing, and the world is changing, and the polar bears can't hunt seals, and they're concrete things to point to, so it's not just a debate over whether or not it's happening. It's why is it happening, and what can we do about it? So honored, like Maddie, to participate and to be asked to participate. Carrie is the one who got us all here. She's very passionate about this, so she should really be doing the talking.
I think that the plays speak for themselves, and the actors have done a great job of doing that, but I'm going to pass the baton.
So I teach. I know several people here teach. We, as theater people, we all teach. But I feel the youth. I'm a mom. I have 3 children, and I worked with the 2 youngest actors in the show in high school, and I put this in the program that I feel like I'm so inspired that they are the hope, that there's still things we can do, that we can hope for, and that we have to do something for our children. All of our children, they inherit the earth, so it's our job to give it to them intact.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's good.
You just go for it.
So I'm a high schooler, and as a minor who's not technically an adult yet, it feels hard sometimes to take those changes. I'm in school constantly. There's not a lot of big choices that I get to make about my life, and it feels hard sometimes to help people and feel like you're doing enough. And I felt like this play really was like a concrete thing that I could point to and say, I got to help work on that, and I got to help make an impact.
I'm also a high schooler. I'm a theater person,
it's really cool how we get to be a part of this like play, and the people who wrote it did such an amazing job on writing these little plays, and I just think that it's so cool how I get to be a part of this, and Paige is such a great person to work with, and I know not a lot of people get to like learn about climate change all the time, and so it's just great that we can do something to help the planet and make a change in the world. So thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Just very quickly, I want to say that I'm so honored to be able to act at all, and it's an opportunity to tell stories. And at each show I've done, I find that I learn so much about the character I'm playing and about the environment that I'm in. And I think that this particular project and the ones that we're going to do in the future and that are being done all around the world gives that opportunity for people, for us players, to be able to find those stories and display them. But, you know, I also feel sad about our audiences because they don't get to do the stuff we do on stage. I mean, we really get to learn something, and if we can impact, if we can pass along the story or the things that have come to us from telling them the stories, I know people are going to respond and make a difference, each of them.
So that is the perfect segue. One more question before we get to you all. What do you all hope the audience takes away from this?
I guess I'll jump in. So in my role as policy director, I engage with coastal resilience, climate change, adaptation mitigation, along with a myriad of issues. And I really think that a huge issue with interacting and talking and learning and conveying information about these is just making sure that people stay engaged, because these are gargantuan issues that are affecting our society, and they're things that we hear about constantly. They're not something that's going to be solved on a time scale of 6 months or a year or 5 years. These are issues that are glacial in the size and scope of not only understanding them, but trying to come up with solutions. So any way that we can engage audiences in a novel way to make them think about these issues in a new light, consider solutions they haven't considered impetuses of the problem that they've never considered, is so important in keeping these issues relevant at the forefront of people's minds and optimistic that there are solutions out there. So seeing something like this, being engaged in something like this with these amazing actors coming out and making people think about these things in new ways and new lights is just so important. So if there's anything that I would hope people take away from this, is that there are people trying to solve these problems. These problems are solvable, and just even by showing up tonight and seeing a climate change theater opportunity in your community and buying a ticket to that and coming here, you're solving this problem in a new novel way that you wouldn't have that other communities aren't around the world. So I think that this is a great step forward in an ongoing solution.
I think that there's also what we had hoped for is that people would feel positive. You know, there's a big, besides the climate crisis, there's anxiety that people have. Those who believe in the climate crisis are going through a crisis of their own, the anxiety that has happened. And what I guess some studies, and I've just been doing a lot more reading about the subject, has been that doctors are wondering, or therapists, what can we do? And it seems as though when you're among other like-minded people, that you will be energized and that you will be able to find creative solutions, big or small. But, you know, I'm hoping that that might be, certainly to help us with our own anxieties that we have about this. But it's not, we gotta believe it's not insurmountable. And that's where I'm thinking it's hopeful.
I'll follow up with, I think, 3 words: motivated, energized, and inspired. So motivated to continue to learn, to continue to engage. This is one act or one way to be involved, but there are hundreds and thousands of more. So to just continue to try. I think we've summed up that it's a big problem. It's not going to be solved overnight, and it's going to take one small step at a time, and a lot of small individual action and a lot of large collective action. So just to continue to try.
Yeah, jumping onto that, like, being part of this, it kind of shows how all of the tiny little things that you can do, like you said, it's such a big problem, but if each person takes the time to do that one tiny little thing to make it better, I mean, taking care of your flower garden, you know, helping the polar bears, whatever, like all of those tiny little things, just even considering doing something about them is one little step, and those thousands of little steps that everybody takes collectively makes that one big step in the right direction.
All right, so does anyone have questions? They can be science-based, they could be arts-based. What are your burning questions?
Just had a comment. I'm a retired teacher. I'm delighted to see so many teachers and educators here contributing. And I know that I had touched on this as a teacher, and I really think that awareness for anything has the most impact on people. But I really think it's the youth that you guys are going to have to carry on. So thank you to the high schoolers who came and will continue what has been started.
I've really got a question and then a couple comments really quickly. But as far as the comments go, I used to run the climate change program at the Rhode Island Department of Health. And this was now 7 years ago since I've been doing that. But we used to have, when it first started, our biggest problems were dealing with the people that denied it was happening. Okay? And I'd give a presentation and then there'd be somebody sticking their hand up that's saying that's all baloney and all that stuff. I think we've gotten over that to a large degree. But it's still out there, it's still prevalent. And so my biggest question, and then I have one other quick point, is what are you, the professionals that are out there now dealing with this, doing in order to combat that still? And so that would be my question. But I also wanted to make a good comment because what Carrie said about the anxiety that winds up happening around this topic is real. If you've ever spoken to someone who was worried about their home sliding into the ocean, when 50 years ago that wasn't even a thing, and that is, there's going to need to be funding to go for that, which is a big deal. And my last point, and then let you answer the question. The arts, and pardon my accent, I dropped my R. The arts have always been a reflection of society. And so that's good that we have this type of thing going on. But sometimes the arts lead society. And I think this type of a program, first and foremost, takes the lead. And it's one way of getting society changed through the arts rather than it just reflecting what's happening. So I really applaud this type of activity. But I've talked way too much, so what are you guys doing now?
Yeah, I think this issue of dealing with, as I understand your question, this climate denialism that has been prevalent in our society for a pretty long time, even up until recently at some of the highest levels of government within our own state, within our own nation. And it's really something that at its base level, at this point, I just don't engage with anymore. The people who want to talk about whether or not the human cause of climate change is real and to what degree it's real, and oh well, there's not a single paper that shows that the Industrial Revolution started the climate change. We can talk about trend lines all we want, but until we have the defining peer-reviewed document, all of that is a distraction from the actual conversation that's happening. And the people that I still see trying to engage with that, they're not looking to have, in my experience at least, a real honest conversation about the facts on the ground, what's happening to the climate. What they want is a political argument. And the fact of the matter is, we have moved so far beyond engaging with the human causes of climate change that we don't even need to talk about that anymore. We can just talk about solutions. So whether or not the Industrial Revolution was the impetus for the onset of the greenhouse gas emissions that are causing the climate change that we're all experiencing, the fact of the matter remains that we're dealing with increased storms of longer duration and more severity than we've ever seen. We're dealing with a fire season. We're dealing with all these things that we can talk about real solutions and engage with people about what we want to do to solve these problems without getting in a tit for tat, he said, she said, what's the actual science versus politics. I think there is real progress to be made on what the science says and what the trends say, and that is removing greenhouse gases from our society, cutting our emissions, trying to figure out how to grow a blue economy where we're capturing those gases. But the people that are engaging in this from an intellectually dishonest place, I don't feel the need to spend my time trying to convince them of something that all the people making decisions already know. And with those people, I think it's more beneficial to engage in solutions to the problems that we're all actively seeing rather than talk about what maybe the cause was or is.
Okay, my favorite argument when people say, well, this might not be real. Like, okay, so maybe not. What's wrong with cleaning the ocean? What's wrong with having better air pollution, less air pollution? What's wrong with using more sustainable, renewable resources? Like, all of those things aren't bad. Like, so that's our solution. Your solution is, let's turn a blind eye, and the outcome will be catastrophic if we're right. But they just see that, oh, we don't have to do anything, we just keep filling landfills with crap. But what's wrong with just believing that, even if we're wrong, what's wrong with having, less fish nets for fish to get caught in, in the ocean?
I also think we've made a lot of changes in society and we've evolved, and you're not seeing cigarettes in public places. There are things that's very incremental, and I do think that what we're doing in the arts is trying to make that transformation. It's subliminal, I love Night Flight, which is Nachtflug.
That's it.
And it's describing that you're not willing to wake up. You're not willing to see what's outside the window. And I think just that story, it's very subtle, it's very subliminal, but if someone were to listen to it, and there's more obvious stories that were told that we can learn about foraging versus, but that particular piece really hits a chord, and maybe might being heard by somebody who's not a believer, just, it's a possibility.
More questions?
I don't need a mic. A question would be, how do you get the non-believers? I think it's easy to get believers in a room. I mean, Carrie, they were on television, they were on radio. I mean, how do you get the non-believers to listen, the non-believers to be here? I mean, I wouldn't even think it would be bad to have a debate or someone shout up and say, I don't believe this. But, I mean, is that not the challenge?
No, I think that's a great point, and I think that there's a couple ways to go about that, and it depends on the non-believer and how they're situated. But I think things like this, where you're incorporating art into the climate debate and the climate science in a way that hasn't been done before, that's a way to try to push new boundaries and bring new people in. I think that there's probably more avenues out there that people more creative than I can figure out ways to flex those pressure points and talk to people at the level that they want to be talked to and that level they understand, to be brought into the conversation. So I think that this interaction with the arts is going to do wonders for branching into new communities that maybe weren't resistant to the climate debate but didn't think about it necessarily in the same way or as frequently as some of us do who work in those fields. I think there's other methods that you can really understand your audience and put it in terms that they understand. So maybe people don't want to talk about the climate crisis and how it relates to Hurricane Ian that decimated this area, but what they do want to talk about is the economic damage that was wrought by Ian and how potentially lessening the impacts of hurricanes, using nature-based solutions to lessen the impact directly of a hurricane on a community. When you're talking to their pocketbook, then suddenly they're listening in ways that they weren't otherwise. So I think it takes a lot of creativity and it takes a lot of work to really understand your audience and who you're talking to. But I don't think that anyone is beyond having to talk with.
To add to that, when I think about the challenge of climate change, and it affects all of us. I think back to like World War II, all right, and the United States involved in World War II. Not everybody wanted to go to war. It was a very unpopular war to want to get involved in. It was happening to Europe. It's not happening to us. I don't see why we need to get involved in it. And then there was a huge campaign by the arts, music, film, radio, because television wasn't really around yet, about it would be a good thing if we don't do something about it, no one is going to come in and save us. And not only did that change public opinion, but then you also had people doing their own individual parts. You talk about victory gardens, where people were like, not only is this something that I think somebody else, the government, should do on behalf of us, there's also more that I want to do to be able to feel like I'm making a difference. And I think using the arts in that way to go, okay, not only is no one going to come save us if we don't choose to do something about it, but give us small incremental ways that we can make a difference. I think that's where the arts can really shine in a way that doesn't make people feel like they're being preached to. Just kind of be like, look, all of these people agree that this is a good idea, and not even like, here are 7 fact-check sources to prove it, but really finding a way to go, oh, not only is this the right thing to do, but it's kind of the fun thing to do. It's the exciting thing to do, which is why I really love what you did tonight.
I was going to piggyback onto that, that the reason behind the arts being powerful and what you've seen here tonight and how we like to educate at SCCF is it elicits an emotional response. So those plays made us feel fear at some point, sadness at others, we were laughing, and the emotional response is key in that emotional connection. People will not change themselves, change behavior without some emotional component or a feeling or being motivated to change. And so I think just trying to get people involved in experiences, whether that is seeing a play or going to a movie or listening to some music, or going out fishing or just being outdoors while learning. We just need to create an emotional connection and response.
Are there programs in place? Like the fires really worry me. That would be terrifying. No way, hands down. What kind of programs are in place to clean up the forest? Because I've done it, right? We've done it. We've cleaned up our property. It takes us weeks, days, months, years, Are there programs?
Yeah, so we have a program called Coastal Watch at SCCF, and you can sign up to volunteer for beach cleanups, coastal restoration, if you want to go plant mangroves and restore oyster habitat. So there's.
So I guess I'm not really talking about your environment. Like, do you guys not have big forests here?
Yeah, Yeah, and I think what we see in Washington was kind of over the past 100 years on the whole West Coast, we retracted from this organizational structure of the forest where the indigenous people were engaging with that forest in a manufactured sense of starting fires, controlled burns, and removing that underbrush, which that has completely gone away because we had this new understanding of conservation and ecology that didn't include indigenous knowledge, and it didn't include fires because that was manufactured in the sense of the people that were controlling that. And what we've seen 100 years later is actually these fires were an integral part of the solution to having a functioning system. We have a similar process here in Southwest Florida. So on Sanibel, there are controlled burns that are done.
Yeah, Sanibel was bad when I was like, I never experienced like a hurricane before.
Yeah, well, and the hurricane is completely separate from the controlled burns and
Right,
stuff.
no, I understand that, but I mean, everything was just like,
And it was destroyed. And what I can tell you though is what we took from our learnings on Sanibel is after Irma came through, where we had not all native plantings, we had a beautiful canopy on Periwinkle Drive when we drove onto the island, and it was completely covered, and people loved that. And that was fully Australian pines, which are this invasive plant that have a very shallow root structure because they're from Australia and they don't have to deal with the same hurricane pressures. So when Irma came through, it knocked over every single one of those Australian pines. And what we saw was the roads were impassable, emergency vehicles couldn't get through. It took a ton of work to reopen that road. And when we were rebuilding after Hurricane Irma, there was a large push to replant invasive Australian pines because people had this idea of what nature was on Sanibel, and it included this canopy over Periwinkle Way. And my boss was working at the Natural Resource Department at the time, and he was part of the team that really fought to get native plants back on Sanibel and not replant these these invasive Australian pines. And so that team from the city went through and they planted native plants, and they didn't plant a monoculture of native plants. They planted a complex structure of native plants that would have been there years ago. And what we saw now after Ian was those root structures intertwined, those native plants grew together, and when we came back on the island the day after Ian, Periwinkle, you could drive down it. There was branches, but there weren't trees down. And I think that's just one window into this idea that if you work with nature, if you protect nature and support these native systems in the way that they've evolved over thousands of years, millions of years to work in this environment that we live in right now, nature will turn around and protect you when they need to.
Right, okay.
And it's same with fire, same with storms. If you're working in the same way that the systems are designed to work, then they'll be way better at being resilient, coming back after the fact, and protecting you during those issues.
Okay. So one last question that we maybe can end on, because it has burning questions. Okay. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yes, there's a lot of, I think there's general acceptance that we need to reduce and phase out fossil fuels. But there's also some hope that technology is going to be the solution. And particularly, I'm kind of focused on the young folks as to whether you feel that that's going to be the future, is through technological advances. I know renewable energies are considered perhaps technologically advanced, but you have a feeling about that as to whether that's going to be the solution for climate change.
Yeah, so I think the reason that we use fossil fuels so much is because it makes it so convenient for people to do things that they like to do. And I think because we have that technology now, it is kind of impossible to take those things away, like cars. You can't really, there's a great idea that we could use public transit more. And I think that switching over to it entirely is not very plausible because people have the freedom of cars now. So I think implementing that new technology in a way that mimics the old technology but still makes those changes is how it'll help moving forward. So keeping that convenience for people but still making it more environmentally friendly.
I definitely agree with Paige. I think that having this technology will definitely help us, but also I think that we should just be able to help as a community, that we don't always need technology, that we just need each other to help save the world and save climate change and just help change the world. And I just think that that'll make everything more positive and make the world a better place.
You know, and in the Saudi Arabia, like that wall, that looks cool, right? It's like 150 miles or something. Just take down.
I just think that it'll make the world a better place if not only do we have technology to help us, but also if we work as a team and get our community together to help save the planet.
So just to end on, kind of in a very short synopsis, what gives you hope?
I think that there's a lot of things that give me hope. Seeing new creative uses of the arts to engage people in issues like this gives me hope. Seeing young people involved and their hope gives me hope. I think that remaining optimistic throughout these issues is so important because, as was mentioned earlier, the anxiety surrounding these things is real and it weighs on us, and even if people aren't talking about it, being faced with something that is a massive problem that you know is bearing down on you, that you feel as an individual largely powerless to do anything about. Because at the end of the day, there are a million individual actions that we can all do that will improve the world around us, but it's going to take courageous leadership and large decisions from our lawmakers before any real meaningful progress can be done. So I think that seeing the hope in the people around me and reframing the context of what we're trying to do really helps. Because I think if we're thinking of what Florida looked like 100 years ago, what North America looked like 200 years ago, and striving to return it to that past or this idea that we have of nature in our minds, that's just setting you up for pessimism because we're never going to achieve that. But that doesn't mean that going forward we can't have a biodiverse environment that rivals what we used to have. It doesn't mean that we can't have a society that understands that it's not separate from nature, it's a part of nature, and it lives in harmony with nature in a way that's not causing detriment to the ecosystems around us and not causing a detriment to our global community as well. So I see more and more people coming around to these ideas, vocalizing these ideas, engaging in creative ways like these artists, and that's what gives me hope for the future.
I think our hope is also with youth, because not only can like teachers and adults teach other people about global warming and helping the earth, I think that the youth can also help. Like if we were to talk to our friends, maybe just like we could create like a group of people to just like go around places, different schools, talking to people about all this stuff that can change the world, especially with like all the arts things. I think this will really help. And I think the people will think that since youth really is like excited and interested in this and that they think that it will help, maybe we will think that it will also help because like, we think we can all change the world together.
You go, girl.
I love your passion and your energy, and this is what gives me hope. But I also want you to know it's not your problem to deal with either, and it's ours collectively. And so I think we want to be careful about thinking that the youth in the future are going to change things for us, because we need to make decisions now, and we need to change now. So it's pretty urgent. But what gives me hope is definitely hearing the conversations that you're having tonight and how passionate and excited you are. And I get to hear things like this all the time at my job in a daily with Sanibel C School, and just hearing kids get so excited and passionate and just kind of understanding that their daily lives make a big impact. And so, yeah, that gives me hope.
Okay, this is the been great. And thank you, Jenny, for putting it together, this discussion, and also for all of your participation. See you back here. Thanks again, Pat.